Hello there and welcome back. My name is Warren and today I have a quick Apex video today where I just do a little commentary over it and see how it went. So there was a fight that we had when we dropped, but it wasn't, it was pretty easy cleanup. They basically just hid in a corner. So this one starts off, our teammate gets knocked pretty early. So it's a 2v2. So I'm just setting up, I want to pull this res to increase our numbers. I set up some defensive traps as Caustic. I tell Mangoes that I got him up. So now Mangoes and I feel free to push up aggressively because we're trying to find the last one or two people of that squad while our teammate heals. We have the numbers. And you'll notice it takes me a while into the match to realize that this is my R301 skin, because you can change that if you pick up somebody else's gun. You can change it to have your skin and your charm. So Mangoes, they say, hey, let's try to root this guy out. We don't need that person sneaking behind us and causing us trouble later on in the match. So we're basically just roaming around trying to find the last one or two members of that squad. And we find them with African Mangoes, as you'll see here in a second, sprinting, barreling down the hill, screaming, I found him, I found him! So I throw a thermite for some cover, put down some traps, and he decides to push hard through the thermite, which allows me to win that fight early on to get the break, and then just hit him with the hip fire to finish it off, and then he goes down immediately, so he was the last person of that squad. So I got really lucky that he decided to run through that thermite. That definitely gave me the upper hand. Quick tip, always just take somebody else's armor. It can be a quick refresh if you need it in a pinch. It's always more advantageous to just take somebody else's, even if it's lower in quality if you're in a pinch, because it's always better to have some armor than none and sit there and try to recharge yours. So now we're just running from the storm, and I noticed that right in front of us there is a team barreling out of the building, and now that's really bad for us because we have the storm pushing us from behind, and now we have this team barreling at us in front. So I see they're pushing full send, so I set up some traps. I ult to try to I'm just trying to slow down their advance for my team to catch up. I fall back a little bit to put more space between me and the enemy team. I see with that decoy that they're using Revenant's ult, so they're going to be pushing super aggressively. You have to really be careful with Revenant's ult, because if you're fighting an aggressive team, they can deal a lot of damage to you with minimal damage to their health. Especially if his ult is inside the circle, they are more free to push. So we don't really have a ton of options, so we have a little bit of a miscommunication and we kind of push different ways. So that was a mistake on my end. I have a random person on a zipline that comes in and causes me even more trouble. So I have people to my right, I have a person on a zipline, and I have the storm behind me. So I'm just looking for any bit of cover. I find this little notch in a rock, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to try to stay safe and heal up. And there is that Bangalore. I could not get any more unlucky. I thought I had my gun out, but I didn't because I was sprinting. So she knocks me pretty easy, and at this point I'm just trying to stay alive as long as possible. She wants to thirst me so she doesn't have to deal with me. So I just want to increase the amount of time that I'm alive to give my teammates more time to catch up. It works. Mangoes comes up, cleans her up real quick with the Mozambique. Gets my banner. It's always just try to buy as much time as you can for your teammates to come and help you. Mangoes gets hit by a pretty saucy grenade. I tell him to take his armor back. Like I said before, it's always better to take the armor that you had out of a box, even if it's slightly lower, but it gives you more shields at the time. Because even if he upgrades his red Evo right now, he still has more health than the Evo he would have taken from me after taking that grenade damage. Teammate reses me. When you're that close to inside the storm, I'm not going to take that much damage from the storm, so it's definitely better to get me back rather than to push further into the circle where you're going to encounter more teams to just get me back inside the circle. So if your teammate can live, it's always best to just res them in the circle. And you'll see my quick little slow inventory management. I'm trying to grab my Volt and I don't realize that it gives you a Mozambique to start with, so that's why it wasn't just picking it up. But you always just want to grab stuff as quickly as possible. I made the mistake of leaving those 5 shield cells in the box. So now we're again doing the same thing that we were just running from, which is running from the storm. So we had a late drop, so now it's running from the storm, and you'll notice that I always go for to heal your health from like using syringes or med packs first, only if you're running from the storm, because the storm takes out your health, not your armor. So if you're dying in the storm, it doesn't matter what your armor value is at, it's going to kill you because it's going to erode your health. So you always want to make sure that your health is topped up when you're running from the storm, and you can worry about those shields kind of as you're progressing when you feel like you have a good distance on the storm. So now I choose to regen my shields because I know that I'm well enough away from the storm, and if we're going to be redeploying in, there's a high chance that somebody's going to see me. So I want to make sure that I have my armor out, because you're a pretty easy target when you're just kind of floating up on a redeploy. More difficult to shoot when you're actually descending downward, but when you're just going up on that rope, you can be a pretty easy target. Our teammate pings inside the circle, which was a really good positioning play, and starts shooting. So he's engaged in someone. I don't know where they are. I don't see anybody. So I'm looking for the enemy in where he originally pinged. I still don't see anything over there. And then he completely changes and puts it in front of him. So I go, okay, no problem. That's where the enemy must go. So he pushes up hard, but I am looking to just buy more time for our third teammate Mangoes to catch up. So we have another Revenant ult. Like I said, they're going to be playing aggressively, so I'm trying to lay down traps to give us more time, and I'm using these incline stairs to give myself a little bit of cover to try to beat back that push by a Revenant ult. We get back 2 of them. I go back and try to find some shield cells. I don't see anything, so now it's all just about positioning. So we rotate back up. I go up and I make sure to reclaim my traps, because as Caustic you can only have a certain amount of them on the field at one time. So now we're still looking for the enemy team. We put the last of that Revenant back. We send him back, so now we know that's all 3. So now when we're going to be fighting the team, it's just going to be their full health. So we see them in the cage. Mangoes makes a really good call out and a really good choice. It says, hey, let's go up on this hill. That's going to be where everyone's going to have to funnel into for that final circle. So if we claim that now, rather than engaging in a fight, we'll be better off. So setting up some defensive traps just to cover this little walkway. And it is confirmed through pings that both teams are in front of us. So nobody's behind us. So now we know that we are in the choke point. So it's at this point where you'll see these two teams just fighting each other in that room that I was shooting at. And we have two options, right? Either we can push in and try to third party this fight and try to win it that way. But we will also be being pushed by the storm, right? If we don't kill them quick enough. So we'll also kind of have to be fighting the storm, but also we're fighting 2 squads at this point in there. Or we can just sit back and play the positioning game, like in the title of this video, and play it a little slow. It's nothing flashy, but it'll get you the win. So we decide to play it a little slow. Our Mirage decides to meme it up a little bit, and he sends a decoy. He'll send a decoy in front of their door to give them a hard time. But you'll notice at this point that other team won, right? So it's a 1v1, but the storm timer is clicking down, and they're spending a lot of time looting. I'm guessing in there. But you always want to ask yourself, especially in the late game, what loot will help me at this point? And as long as you have ammo for your guns and a couple like shield batteries, you're not going to be, especially in an end fight, you're not going to be fighting for that long. So it's better to always play positioning rather than just looting stuff that won't necessarily help you. So at this point we know the storm is on their heels. It's basically just a waiting game before we root them out. I throw down my ult to limit the space in which they can traverse healthy. You'll notice the Loba tries to beat that, and she chucks her teleportation ring. She pulls it and ends up below the almost in the drink. So it's a easy kill for our Mirage. Teammate gets another one and then finish off in the storm. They had almost no health left. So not as flashy, but positioning wins games. And also make sure you don't spend overly too much time looting stuff that will not help you in upcoming fights. 300 rounds of ammo does not help them in that engagement. They lost because of positioning. So again, nothing crazy in the kill counts or in the damage, but a solid performance and a good positioning win, and it was definitely a fun one to play. So thanks for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed this little style of commentary for an Apex match, and let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you all next week. All right, goodbye.